trout are rising for the mayfly, and the sun is shining down on the valley. Hope to be a fly fish till the day that I die. Spring has thawed out the long bitter winter. The water is clear and the skies are blue. I'm standing in the middle of the Delaware River. Might even catch and release one or two. Life is good when I'm wading the river. Gets even better when I cast a fly. If I catch a trout, it don't really matter. It's fun just to be here and give it a try. Stoneflies and caddis in the riffles are plenty. Mayflies a courting on fragrant breeze. The cedar wax wings come down from the heavens, wait for their dinner up in the pine trees. Trout is rising in the far eddy. I make a false cast, then take my aim. If he takes the fly, I feel so much better, and if he doesn't, I'll feel no shame. The water is cold and my waders leak. It's raining now on my favorite stream. I'll bear it all, just fish with a feather, so when I sleep I will have a sweet dream. Life is good when I'm wading a river. Gets even better when I cast a fly. Trout, it don't really matter. It's fun just to be here and give it a try. Ripples and waves, pools and eddies, trout are rising for the dry fly, and the sun is shining down on the valley. Hope to be a fly fishing till the day that I die. Spring has thawed out the long bitter winter. The water is clear and the skies are blue. I'm standing in the middle of the Beaver Kill River. Might even catch and release one or two. Ripples and waves, pools and eddies, trout are rising for the dry fly. Gotta be a record. 21-inch trout. That's what a dry fly will do. Oh, hey folks. How you doing? Curtis Mayfly here. And speaking of dry flies, I just caught a 21-inch trout on my little game there. And it was with an Adams. But today we're going to do a light Cahill, and we're going to put a fly in the vise. Now, dry flies are a whole different story, really, from nymph fishing. You're actually bringing fish up to the surface, and it's just a remarkable experience to be able to cast a fly out there that you tied, and to get a fish to come up and take it as if it was a natural food that they would eat. The light Cahill is a good one for probably late spring, early summer type fishing, and then again in the early fall might be good to use. And it can be a difficult fly to tie because we're going to use some wood duck or In this case, I think this is just mallard flank feathers. We're going to use these for the wings. Now the wings can be difficult because they're like a split V type wing, and it should be tied pretty upright. And there's a lot of different techniques to do that. Some folks tie the wings first, and that's fine. But I find the wings get in the way then for tying the rest of the fly. And I found my own technique where I tie the wings on last and get them where I want, and then I wrap the hackle around. So we're going to start with some thread, and we're going to wind back down the hook. We're going to put a tail in. We're going to use yeah, it's a light Cahill. We might use one of these feathers right here for the quill body. We're going to actually use a quill for the body. And the reason I like to show this fly is because you can tie any number of flies using this technique of quill. You can tie a red quill by using a red feather for the quill body, and then use a red hackle, and then you use the lemonwood duck wings to make it a little more realistic. And typically, you know, you just match the hackle to the colored fly that you want. So I find it's real simple to do, and I'm going to strip all the fibers off of that feather, and then you have just a little hackle there. You just have the quill, sorry. You just end up with a quill, okay? And that's what we're going to make the body out of. We're going to cut the end off so there's a little nub there that we can tie to. So there's our quill. That's all you do for the quill. And that will be the body. Now for the hackle, I typically use a cream colored hackle. And again, these can be quite expensive. And you want to match your hackle that you're going to use to the size of the hook or the fly. And that's where a hackle gauge comes in. And the hackle gauge is pretty simple. You put it right on your vise. You wrap your hook around there, and the length of the feathers, we got a size 14. This is a good feather to use for the size 14. Okay? And when I cut these off, right where it starts to be webby down here is where I cut it off, and I pull my finger down to pull the quills out, and then I nip the sides off to make little teeth that will hold this hackle on the fly. Okay? And typically I'll use 2 hackles on a fly, but today I'll probably just use 1, just for demonstration purposes. And I need, when you're tying a lighter fly, you're going to want to use a lighter colored thread. So typically you want to match your thread to the fly that you're tying. Okay? So I have some light yellowish type colored thread, which I am matching to do my light Cahill. Okay? I'm going to put that in my bobbin, like so, and it keeps wrapping around there. Why does it do that? And there we go. We got our thread ready to go. We've got a thread ready to go. We got a quill stripped, and we got a hackle. So we have our body, and we have our hackle, and we have a wing material, and I'll show you how we'll do that later. Now for the tail, I like to find one of these feathers up here, and typically I will use the same quill. I will use the same color that I would use for the hackle or anything else. And you just bend this over and we'll pull some of those fibers out. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. But again, the dry fly is a whole different experience, and you're going to want to tie a bunch of dry flies in different colors to match the mayfly hatches that you'll see in the springtime and through the summer. For some reason, biological reason, darker flies seem to hatch earlier in the spring, and some of them are pretty good size. So in the spring you can get away with some fairly large hefty nymphs and some fairly large heavy darker flies, okay, like a gray fox variant or an Adams or something like that. And then as the season progresses, you're going to get into some smaller, finer, light colored flies. And today, that's what we're going to tie, is a light Cahill. So let's get started. Light Cahill. I'll place my hook in the vise, make sure it's level. That's a light wire hook, because this is a dry fly. Now we're going to take our light colored thread, we're going to pull towards us, wrap a few times towards the eye, and then go quickly back over the thread, making a nice tight body. By holding this tag end at a 45-degree angle, as usual, we can get a nice tight body on that hook. That's what we want right there. Now we're going to take, and we have to do our tail, so we're going to take a hackle out of this neck here. I'm going to try to pick a big long one. And there we go. We're going to pull that out of there. So we got a nice long hackle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull some of these fibers out for the tail. And all you do is you grab a bunch and pull them right out. Pinch them together nice. Get some of the fluff out of there, and we're going to measure that the length of the tail. Going to measure that the length of the shank. Boom, right there. Cut that off. Pinch, pull up through your fingers and lightly down, and always pull up, remember. Okay, there's our tail. Now we need to make the body. We're going to use a quill for that. And using a quill, you can tie any number of flies, a red quill, a quill Gordon, in almost any color fly you want, just by stripping a quill of that color. I've used grizzlies for mosquito imitations, and you can really have a ball with it because you can tie any kind of fly you want, any different color you want, just by stripping a quill that's the same color as the hackle, or the same, right off the same neck is even better. I'm going to wrap that forward. There we go. Now we're going to take our quill and wrap it each time right in front of the next one. I'm going to make each wrap right in front of the next one. We work our way forward on the hook, on the shank of the hook, and eventually we will get up. It will make a nice tapered body as well. We get up to this point, we need to wrap our thread around that quill. Okay, once it's tied off, you can do a couple of quick wraps. Make sure it's nice and tied off. There we go. Now we need a hackle to tie around. There's a nice one. We need a hackle, and I always like to cut the hackle right where it starts getting webby, right in here. Okay, and then we pull down, and then we cut those fibers off so they make a nice little, have little teeth on them. See that? Nice little teeth on them. And that'll help hold that hackle in place once you wrap it down. We're going to wrap that. Now we're going to do the wings. And to do the wings, we're going to get a nice lemon wood duck or mallard flank, whatever you have. We're going to cut that center quill out. You do that just by pushing it up against your finger and nipping that center out. And now we're going to hold these two pieces together and nip it right off right there. Okay? These two bunches together. And I like to spin it a little to get them well mixed. And you want to make sure they're all same length. So now we're going to put that, we want our wings to be the length of the shank. So we're going to measure that with the pinch method. And pinch again here. Then if you cut this off just so there's enough to tie on, and you put it up here, it won't crowd the eye, but you'll have enough to tie the wings down. And that's what we'll do. Now you pull, for my method, I don't know what you want to call it, you pull the wings forward, do a wrap behind them. Nice wrap behind them. Then using your dubbing needle, you split those two wings into two equal portions. And then once you get them split into two equal portions, you push your finger forward, and that will separate each group. And then you can at least get a couple wraps around one side. Okay? To keep, now they're separated. Okay? Now we have to get them to be where we want them in our place. I'm going to wrap around there. And we do the other side. You got to be careful with these. You don't want to pull too hard. Yeah, but you want to get them right where you want them. And there we go. So now they're nice split wings. Okay. Nice split wings. And now we can do one more wrap behind them and work our way forward. Now we're going to take our hackle. The trick with the hackle is to wrap it tight against the wings. So we're going to pull the wings forward and wrap one time behind it. Wrap at least another time. Wrap as many times as you can. Okay? Because this is what helps make the wings stand upright. See how they're going forward now. Now we're going to pull behind them and put a wrap in there. I'm going to wrap the head here and get a little more hackle out of that. Here we go. You have a nice, like Cahill. Always put your finger underneath when you nip the stuff off. Now you got to be careful here because we don't have a half hitch in here yet, and so you got to keep it tight till you put a half hitch on it. Now that we have a half hitch on there, now it won't come apart, I don't think. More times than not, I'll put a bunch of half hitches on there. And that's good enough. There's our light Cahill with a tail, quilt body, and split wings. So there we go, folks. We just tied our light Cahill. I believe it's, I don't know what show it was, but it's one of my shows. And I hope you'll learn this technique of splitting the wings, and because I found it to be faster than all the other ways of doing it. I've only got about 3 or 4 wraps around those wings, so it makes the fly lighter, and they seem to hold up pretty well. But that's a nice light Cahill. And you know, if you're going fishing, you're going to need a fly box. And I have a fly box here. And if you're the first person to email me after the show, I'll be happy to contact you. And it's got little compartments here. Bigger compartments here. It's a nice little fly box, and I'll even put the flies that I've tied here for the show. I've got at least 3 light Cahills right there, the one in there. I got my giant stonefly. I've got an elk hair caddis and a hare's ear nymph. So if you want the actual flies that we tied here on Riffles and Waves, be the first person to email me at avkurt@mac.com. Now, if you're the first person, because I'll see there'll be dates and times on your email, and I'll know exactly when you emailed me after the show. And I'll get your address. I'll send you a reply saying you're the winner of today's prize here, and I'll send this right out to you. So if you want to learn more about fly tying and some of the things about the show, you can go to my website at http://homepage.mac.com/avkurt, and you'll get into my website and you'll be able to see some of the videos that I've made for fly tying. All the flies that I've tied on this show will be on there. And I also have a couple other little videos, and I have the Ale Hazard Chapter newsletters are online. So if you want to find out more about Trout Unlimited and local events, you're going to want to see the Ale Hazard Chapter newsletter. The banquet will be coming up in March of 2005, and you want to be sure to get tickets, because this year we're going to make it even bigger and better than ever. We're going to have more prizes and stuff, so you're going to want to read that newsletter and see what Ale Hazard Chapter is all about. I also would like to invite any of my viewers out there who want to tie a fly here on Riffles and Waves to contact me at avkurt@mac.com, and I'll get them on the show. I don't want the show just to be me. I want it to be my viewers out there to participate. So if you want to get on the show and tie a fly or learn about some technique, I'll try to figure it out, and if I don't already know it, and I'll teach it to you, and I'll teach it to everybody out there. I also want you to ask questions. If you have questions about fly fishing or fishing in general, I can pretty much find out. I have availability to a lot of information, and anytime you want, you can email me a question, and I will answer it here on the air. It may take a while because this is the, February show, and I'm taping in December. So as soon as you see the show, you want to send me an email, and it might take a few weeks to get on the air, but I shoot pretty far ahead. I do all these shows. So till next week, keep on tying them flies. Send me an email and win this fly box full of these fine Riffles and Waves flies. We'll put the stonefly in right there. Put the light Cahill right here. Put another one right there. Oh, see you next week. Walk down to the river the way I usually do. How was I to know someone be there fishing too? So I asked if I could fish my way upstream. He looked at me and smiled, said, "It's all right with me." With brookies, browns, and rainbows, and mayflies on the hatch. Give me brookies, browns, and rainbows, and one I hope to catch. Proceeded to start fishing with a tiny sulfur fly. Since they were hatching and they filled the sky, saw a steady riser behind a big rock. Feeding one by one, like the ticking of a clock. Brookies, browns, and rainbows, mayflies on the hatch. Give me brookies, browns, and rainbows, one I hope to catch. So I cast just above the trout that did rise. On the first cast, he took the fly, rod bent like a bow. Reel was stringing out. I said to myself, man, this is a good trout. Fish began to flare, and he was released. He swam back to the pool with gentle ease. The day will live long in my memory. Somewhere down the road, I hope that I will see brookies, browns, and rainbows, and mayflies on the hatch. Give me brookies, browns, and rainbows, one I hope to catch.